Welcome. Good evening. Glad you could join us. The room is filling up. We could see the numbers right now. Yay, yeah. I wait like 1 minute or so, maybe 30 seconds. Thank you for being here. For those of you that are probably, maybe you're driving, drive safely. Thank you
Eyes
for
on the
joining
road.
us.
Eyes on the
Yes.
road. The slides will be shared, so eyes on the
Yeah,
road, please. We
exactly.
can email them out later.
Mm-hmm. It's all being recorded too. All right, get through that Starbucks drive-through. Grab your drink, your coffee or tea or water. Okay. All right, I think we'll get started now. So I want to welcome you to our first mental health webinar presentation of the three-part series for parents and caregivers. We're excited to have you all with us this evening. My name is Violeta Mora. I'm a program specialist with the San Diego County Office of Education, Student Wellness and School Culture Department and Unit. We're very thankful that Monica Ventura from our SDCOE team will provide Spanish interpretation. To be sure you get a clear audio signal, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of your screen or see the language options on your cell phone and select English to hear the presenter clearly in English. Then I'm going to say it in Spanish. Bienvenidos. Si desea escuchar la interpretación en español, seleccione la imagen del mundo en la parte de abajo de su pantalla y escoja español para escuchar a la intérprete o vea las opciones de idiomas dentro de los celulares si esta es su celular. Okay? All right. Make sure you do that. That way you can hear us or hear Monica in Spanish. Okay. Tonight we are very excited to have a presentation on building belonging, turning the tide on bullying. This presentation will provide a general overview and reinforce strategies that can best support your children at home. This webinar series is brought to you through a partnership with the Rady Children's Hospital. You will all be receiving the copy of the slides at the end of the probably at the end of this week. And then the webinar recording will be posted on our website in the next couple of weeks. Okay. Our team members, Heather Namor, Rachel Wegner, Roxanne Bellamy, and Daniel Ojeda Wave. We'll be supporting you all in the background and answering questions and uploading relevant resources in the chat. Now I have the pleasure of introducing our outstanding partner that made this series come to fruition for actually several years now. Callie Kelsey, who is the Community and School Education Advisor for Rady Children's Hospital's Transforming Mental Health Initiative. We surveyed parents last year and actually years past too to identify the trending mental health topics that you all want to learn more about, and Callie identified medical professionals to present on this topic. And Callie will be introducing our guest speaker this evening.
Thank you for the introduction, Violeta. On behalf of the Transforming Mental Health Initiative at Rady Children's Hospital San Diego, now a part of Rady Children's Health, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to the San Diego County Office of Education for their invaluable role in this collaborative partnership. At Rady Children's, we remain committed to transforming mental health through early identification, timely intervention, and connecting children to the care they need. We firmly believe that there is no health without mental health, and we are honored to be a part of this important work alongside all of you today. Thank you, everyone, for being here today for this live webinar. Really quickly, I just want everyone to know that we appreciate those that have submitted questions in advance and look forward to addressing as many as possible during this session. Our presenter is prepared to cover several key topics based on the submissions. And if you have additional questions throughout the presentation, please submit them via the Q&A box, as well as explore the available resources that come after this presentation. We will have a Q&A session that follows the presentation, so we look forward to that as well. It is now my privilege to introduce our esteemed presenter. Excuse me. Dr. Hilary M. Bowers is a prominent figure in pediatric behavioral and mental health care. She serves as the founding director of Behavioral and Mental Health Services at Children's Primary Care Medical Group, or CPCMG, overseeing healthcare for approximately 280,000 children and adolescents across 28 offices in San Diego and Riverside counties. Additionally, she leads the primary care mental health integration program within the Transforming Mental Health Initiative at Rady Children's Hospital, San Diego, now a part of Rady Children's Health. Dr. Bowers' academic journey includes graduating magna cum laude from the University of Pennsylvania and earning her medical degree from the University of Washington. During her studies, she conducted research on telemedicine's effectiveness for rural populations. She completed her internship and residency at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, with further training at Boston Medical Center's Division of Developmental and Behavioral Pediatrics. As a board-certified pediatrician, Dr. Bowers has taken on various roles within CPCMG, including serving on the board of directors. Her leadership work extends to Rady Children's Hospital San Diego, Children's Physicians Medical Group, local schools, and synagogues. Dr. Bowers is a passionate advocate for improved access to quality pediatric behavioral and mental health care. She has been invited to speak at multidisciplinary conferences on developing and delivering behavioral and mental health care in primary care settings. Her expertise and dedication contribute significantly to addressing the growing youth mental health crisis through innovative integrated care models. Dr. Bowers, we're honored to have you here, and the time is now yours.
Thank you so much for that fabulous introduction. I know my parents would be super happy to hear that. It's a good thing to grow into. So today we're going to be talking about bullying, the people who do, the people who receive, the people who view. I believe that everybody on this call has somehow been involved with bullying at some point during their lives, and that time unfortunately might be now. Next slide, please. So today we're going to define bullying. What is it? What is a state? So go over some statistics to see who is impacted by ethnicity, by gender, by age. What is the impact? What are you going to see in your own home? What is your child going to look like in the school setting as they're going through bullying, either on one side or the other, or the third? What tools can you use and skills can you help your child build? What tools can you use for yourself to help support your child through this, and other additional resources? As we said, these slides will be available, as is the recording, after the talk. So if you'd like to review it again, or if you want to share it with your friend, that will be possible. Next slide, please. So let's start with some definitions. What is bullying? So you have the person who bullies. So this is the person who is engaging in the aggressive behavior, and their goal is to harm or intimidate others. They're not doing it accidentally. This is intentional behavior. A bystander is somebody who's watching. What we'd like, hopefully, maybe is to create, instead of a bystander, is maybe even an upstander. What is an upstander? That's someone who sees what's going on and then potentially can intervene to redirect and diffuse the situation. So an upstander is somebody who acts versus a bystander is someone who's standing and observing. The recipient, so this is someone who is subjected to the bullying behaviors. Trying to avoid the term victim, because sometimes kids, especially younger kids, will internalize that, and then being a victim becomes their whole personality, and that's not our goal. They were somebody who's a recipient of bullying behaviors. It was not their fault, and how we can walk through that. And then an ally is just like an ally in any other situation. An ally is somebody who helps the individual who is being bullied. An ally can also help the person who is bullying, who is the person who is engaging in those intentional aggressive behaviors, to help them learn why are they doing this and how they can potentially express themselves in different ways. Next slide, please. So how many students are engaging? How many students are being impacted? We have 1 in 5 of 12 to 18-year-olds, 1 in 3 1 in 3 tweens either have been a bully, so someone who's engaged in the behavior, received that behavior, or has witnessed the behavior. So as you as parents, as caregivers know, bullying is everywhere. We're humans. We have not evolved past bullying, unfortunately. Then this is a adolescence, that young adolescence, what we think of as tween stage, is a time where we see quite a bit of this. And unfortunately, it'll still happen. The goal of this talk is to say, how can we support and help people have the tools to get through? Next slide, please. So 4 forms of bullying that we will cover: physical, verbal, social, and cyber. And you will see there is overlap between these 4, but there is also distinctions between them. Next slide, please. So physical bullying. This is a thing, I think often this is talked about first because this is what is seen. This is what's going to be seen on the playground by the lunch monitor. This is what's going to be seen in the classroom. This may be what you see in your own home with your own children. It's the physical, right? I'm pushing, I'm kicking, I'm shoving, I'm hair pulling. I may be ripping a whole bunch of your hair out. I'm ripping your clothes on purpose. This is aggressive, physically aggressive behaviors. This is more common among males than females, and not zero among females, but more common among males. You'll see that very much in the tween setting as well. Next slide, please. So verbal. This is name calling, teasing, threatening statements. And the key is that this is intentional, that I'm really saying, ooh, they're fill in the blank here. I don't want to give anyone any extra insults or anything, but any sort of threatening statement, that these are intentional statements that are happening. There are expressive. This is different than, say, maybe you have a student in the class who has a diagnosis of Tourette syndrome. So this is a chronic tic disorder. And part of their tic disorder is that they have verbal outbursts. And some of their verbal outbursts may be off color. They may be saying words that other people, if they're using them in an intentional way, we would think absolutely 100% not okay. This is bullying. But in this case, as part of their medical condition, they may be saying things like, shut up, or other items. And that is something where we need to really think about and be mindful of what is the context that these words are presented in. In the case of someone, if you have a classmate with Tourette syndrome, this is an opportunity to teach your child. Here's somebody who's neurodiverse and they're going through life and they have a different path. How can we help understand and work with them? And how can they work with you? Next slide, please. Social or relational. So this is the rumor mill, as it were. So this is intentionally excluding someone from the group, right? You send out that paperless post and you make sure to throw up all the photos from the event and ha ha ha, you're not involved. Public humiliation, pulling down someone's pants, sabotaging friendship, saying, that person over there, they don't like you. They're not okay. Or, hey, somebody has a massive fat crush on you. And then you go over and they don't have a crush on you at all. And they now all are just laughing at you and you're standing in the middle of the lunchroom and your heart is all over the floor now. So societal and relationship, this is how do we learn how to group. This is super common in tweens. This is something that is a little more common in females than males. But that being said, this is very common as students are going through life and trying to figure out, who am I? Where do I fit in? Should I wear the red hat today or the green hat today? What does it look like? Do I have the right clothes? And unfortunately, what will happen is some students, some children will decide the way to make myself feel better is to put somebody else down. So rather than lifting everyone up, they're putting someone else down. So now they feel higher. Unfortunately, this behavior may extend into adulthood. Next slide, please. And cyberbullying. So this is on digital platforms. This is posting content that is embarrassing or false. This is creating a fake account where you say this is the person when in fact they're not. Sending threatening messages, which is never okay. Excluding from an online group. Hey, everyone's in, but I'm not going to send you the WhatsApp join link. 1 in 4 teens, 25% have experienced cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is can be faceless, where you're just sending bad text messages, you are creating fake accounts, but there isn't necessary, or on YouTube or Discord, and you're just making comments on somebody's video that you don't know in person. So there's not that feedback loop of, oh, I went up to your face and I said something, and now you can respond to me. This is shouting in the ether. 1 in 6 has been a perpetrator, and 1 in 5 tweens have been involved in cyberbullying in some degree. Either they viewed it, they have been the instigator of it, or they have been the recipient of it. And remember, digital platforms, we've put up a bunch of different logos on here. And every time we put together a slide like this and we come with different logos, I always learn a new social media platform because there's a lot out there. And what you as a parent are on is likely not what your kid's using. I would encourage you that if your child, it does have a social media account, that you get an account on the same platform and you follow them to see what's going on. Does this prevent them from creating a private account that you can't see? No, it does not. But for them to know, just like you're watching them in real life and you know, IRL, as we say, and how they're interacting in the park, at the dinner table, things like that, you want to see how are they presenting themselves in the cyber world. And just like we would like them to have manners in real life, we would like them to have manners in cyberspace as well. Next slide, please. So where does bullying happen? This is a talk, it's in part with the San Diego County Office of Education. And yes, bullying happens at schools, which is, I think, one of the reasons why this is a hot topic, 47% of it in the classroom. I think an interesting statistic is less than 50% notified an adult at the school. So sometimes kids won't talk about that they're being bullied because they're afraid they're being labeled a snitch. And then there'll be increased bullying. Maybe they want to be able to handle it themselves. Maybe they don't view it as bullying. It's just how people have always treated them, and they didn't realize people could be nice to them. So this is where I think knowing that kids are not reporting it, this is where you as a parent need to have your spidey senses on, get your antenna up, and really be clued into how your child is doing and acting. Why do people bully? The list is as long as my arm. You have glasses, you have dark hair, you have light hair, you are a different race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender. You get A's, you get F's, like whatever the reason is, you are somehow different than the person who is doing the bullying. Therefore, you're a target. Knowing, next slide, please. So we have a nice pie graph here. So percentage of students being bullied by ethnicity. So again, we're looking at students, non-white students are increased risk for being bullied. So again, this is the who is other, who is a majority, and often whoever is perceived to be in a minority is who is being bullied. So if you have a predominantly white school, then maybe the students who are non-white are going to be increased risk. And the reverse is also true, that if you're a white student at a predominantly non-white school, then you may be the minority and be at increased risk for being bullied. Excuse me. So every ethnicity, gender, race, sexual orientation. Middle schoolers are more likely to be bullied because that is a time where kids are really starting to figure out who they are. They got more space. They're not in elementary school anymore. They're going to take on the world. And unfortunately, some of them take on the world by putting other people down. Public school students, this is a larger class environment. Sometimes it can be more challenging for the administration or the teachers to kind of have a handle on the classroom. So if you have 30 to 40 students in a class, some behaviors really can wind up going under the radar, especially if it's not some of the very big physical bullying, if it's more like sliding a note to somebody or dropping their papers on the ground. Students in rural communities, students who identify in the LGBTQIA2 plus spectrum community, these are all people that are at risk of being bullied. Next slide, please. So what's our impact? We have external and we have internal things that happen. So externally, these are the things that you as a parent may be more likely to see. So maybe your child is gaining weight, right? They don't feel good about themselves. So they're snacking all the time because when we snack, we get some food, our blood sugar goes up, we get a little dopamine hit, and then we feel a little better. If we keep doing that, sometimes then our weight outstrips our height growth. And then we can see changes. You can also see the other, where students start losing weight. Maybe somebody made a comment, or maybe they're being actively bullied about being a larger size. Now they're like, well, the way to do that is to lose weight. How do I lose weight? I stop eating, or I stop eating healthy. You may see not eating all day, and then maybe a child's binging at night. Maybe when you go to clean their room, you see a bunch of wrappers under the bed, right? Children may start hoarding food. Different clothing choices, hygiene. The kid who used to come out and maybe do a full face of makeup before they go to school, or the kid that took half an hour to decide what to wear and they look super put together. Maybe they were the kid who used to lay out all their clothes the night before. Now, getting dressed off the floor, whatever's available. Or maybe just they go to bed in clothes, they get up and go to school in the same clothes, they go to bed in clothes, they go up and say they're not changing the underwear, not changing their sweatshirt. So what is the hygiene? Not bathing. You may see sometimes acne getting worse if we're not having good hygiene. Then the acne can then make, unfortunately, the child subjected to more bullying. So this can, you may see this cycle happening. Any unexplained injuries, this is not okay. And any physical ailments. Maybe you have a child who's being bullied, so they don't want to go to school, so they have a stomach ache. Every morning, they have a stomach ache, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, no stomach aches. But starting Sunday night, they start having stomach aches or headaches. Behavioral isolation, withdrawing. Sometimes you may see this more in teenagers, really aggressive. Often we think of adults and depression. We think of people sitting in a dark room, binging the Hallmark movies, eating ice cream or chicken wings or something. In adolescents, often it looks like irritability. They're just ticked off all the time. Everything 0 to 60, 0 to 100. You made them their favorite food, but something, and they know that in the end, hopefully, that home is a safe place so they can let it out. So if they've been holding everything in all day and they've been a recipient of bullying, that then when they come home, it's so hard they don't have to, but they're just going to be very, very irritable. And then disconnecting with friends. This is a huge one. A lot of students are spending more and more time online, and a lot of friendships are online. So sometimes that's hard for parents to monitor if they're really connecting with people. If they're on a video game, are they playing by themselves or are they playing with other people? They're playing with other people. Are they playing with people they know in real life, or are they playing with somebody who lives in France? That can lead to sleep challenges. Are their friends calling up and saying, hey, come on, let's go to the mall. Um, I'll pick you up. We'll go get a burger. And your child is always saying no, or hiding from the phone, or won't answer the door. So I think these are all very important things for you as a parent to keep an eye on. Next slide, please. So significant consequences, behavioral mental health concerns. Yes, I am the director of behavioral mental health, so I feel like I see behavioral mental health challenges all the time and kind of getting a sense of what is expected behavioral mental health development versus what is something that needs a higher level of care. And that's where you as a parent and building your team, you're the parent. Hopefully you're spending quality time with your kid. You know who your kid is. Your kid, is there another trusted adult somewhere in their life that they can go to who is also giving you feedback on how your child's doing? What's your connection with the school? Is there a case manager or counselor? Is there a teacher? What else can you see? What about the parents of your child's friends? Any of you who are on the line who have children may have noticed that your child may act differently at somebody else's house than at your house. You and your child may have been at loggerheads, may have been fighting for like days in a row, and then they wind up going and having a play date, and you get this report back like, your child was amazing, so helpful. My own kids wouldn't do that. They offered to clear the table, they set the table, they tried everything that I made for dinner. They asked for seconds. There is like, please and thank you, raising their hands. And you are like, your jaw is on the floor. Like, what do you mean? This is the same kid that we're just fighting at home. And part of that is because home is a safe space. Hopefully, home is a safe space. And when your kids go out in the world, they get it. So if you have a kid who you're struggling with at home and then they go out in the world and you get these glowing reports, know that your child will make it. Your child is headed in the direction of being able to navigate these spaces. It can still make it challenging at home. I 100% acknowledge that. So we see anxiety, we see depression, increased fighting at school or at home. Often things flow downhill. So when you have, if the oldest child is getting bullied, sometimes they then go to the next child who goes to the next child at home, and then, goes unfortunately to the family pet if there is one. Next slide, please. So cyberbullying. And I bring this out specifically because this is definitely a newer area. We haven't had social media for that long. YouTube, a lot of kids don't even think about YouTube as social media, but that is a way that can interact with other people. It's a way of getting the videos and the algorithms. So the more time you're spending, the algorithms will keep giving you tighter and tighter the same things. And that may then, you looked up one thing, now it feeds you another, now it feeds you another. And it's like eating junk food all day long. You're not being very thoughtful about your consumption. So increase anxiety and stress. Am I doing this? It can impact your sleep, increase risk for depression, social withdrawal. I'm I'm here. I'm going for the likes. I need the thumbs up, the smiley faces, the engagement, the hearts, whatever it is. I need those things. And then if I don't get them, therefore I'm no good. And so finding ways to have your child be not online can be very helpful. And we will talk about that momentarily. But concentration issues, this is a huge thing that I'm seeing quite a bit, unfortunately. So with social media, everything, we have lots of little sound bites. So I watch a video, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whew, maybe a whole 120 seconds, a whole 2-minute video. Um, that is a lot. So then asking your child to then sit and read a book for 10 minutes with no video and no pictures and none of that sensory input coming in can be very challenging. And so getting time away from media, the online media, to help build those muscles of concentration and focus. Next slide, please. Social media impact in specific, we can have as we said, there can be cyberbullying with social media, but also social media in and of itself leading to body image, right? So a lot of what we see online is for girls, especially young girls, tends to be super thin. For boys, tend to be like super jacked muscles and everything. And so you have, say, a 12-year-old boy who's watching and wants to join the football team or the wrestling team, we'll say football, baseball, and they're watching people who play football and people. They're watching professionals on YouTube, and then they want to look just like that. 12-year-olds are not going to look like a 25-year-old, but the 12-year-old brain has a hard time understanding that. And they think, well, if I just work out more, I'll get those big muscles. Testosterone is not upon them yet. It will not happen yet physically, but now they're very unhappy with the body they're inhabiting. Same true with maybe you have a dancer or gymnast in your home. There is, or you have a boxer where they're trying to cut weight. You're trying to looking at a very specific body type. You don't have that. Again, you're dissatisfied, even though your body's awesome and strong. And so thinking about how do you talk about your own body? How do you model the behavior in front of your own children? Do you say like, oh man, I could really lose a few pounds, or oh, I'm cheating. I'm having some ice cream, but I really shouldn't. I really shouldn't because I got this weight to lose. Instead saying, wow, I'm really enjoying this ice cream. It's a celebratory food. It's a birthday party I'm at, and I'm going to have a slice of cake because I'm celebrating with family that this birthday is a milestone. So celebratory food, thinking about how we think about these things. The eating disorder behaviors, obviously, you're comparing to others with social media, low self-esteem. Why can't I look like that? Who am I? And then sometimes, unfortunately, you have some perfectionism. If I'm only just one more, if I do one more, if I do this one more time, then it'll be just so. But then the goal is constantly moving. If only I lost 1 pound, 5 pounds, 2 more pounds, and it becomes never ending. And then you wind up seeing this, oh, this super thin is this ideal if I could only have X, Y, and Z. And how you as a parent can model, you know what? This is not real. Most of these photos are Photoshop. They aren't real people either. The person who takes it isn't a real person. And your tween is still learning fact and fiction. Your tween is still understanding, just starting to learn what I see isn't always real and isn't always true. And that's going to be part of the conversation you as a parent need to have with your child. Next slide, please. So who's at risk? Somebody who's frequently fighting, as somebody who's been in regular disciplinary actions. Maybe they have money or toys that you didn't purchase them. Where did they come from? Are they stealing? Are they the person says, hey, give me your lunch money, and then they're using the lunch money to get other things they want? Maybe somebody who's really blaming others, right? You're at risk for bullying. Overly competitive. So people are joining a team of whatever it is. I want to be first chair in the clarinet section. I want to, make the starting squad on the tennis team, whatever it is. But you don't want to cultivate the competition to the point where your child is the one who's then putting other people down, maybe is trying to injure other people so they can make the squad. Next slide, please. So this is the great part, which is how you can build belonging. What we've talked about are statistics and who's at risk and different types of bullying, but now it's what can you as a parent do to help your child become the awesome human that you know they can be? And the answer is a whole lot. There is so much within your control. I would encourage you not to listen too much to social media because then you won't feel good about your parenting and then it'll be challenging. So just like we'd like our kids not to tune in so much, make sure you don't as well. I suppose except for maybe seminars like this where you could learn some skills, how you can build belonging. Next slide, please. So a key thing is really the connection. How do we build this? And often we build connection by finding a common activity. So your kid really likes Legos. Let's go find a Lego group for them to join. Because if they join the Lego group, everybody else at that group likes Legos. So they already have something in common and something that they can talk about. I'm a huge proponent of community service. I prescribe it frequently at work. And try to live it with my own children, but community service is a way of your child to interact with other humans. They can interact with adults who are not their parents and caregivers. And then there's other adults that are looking out for them. The other adults who say, oh, we missed you last week. What was going on? What did you do? And so they're going to have conversations. They're invested in them being a good human. In a way that's complementary to the way that you're invested in your child. So having more trusted adults in your child's life are protective factors, builds their resilience. The other nice thing about community service is it builds self-esteem. It shows how they can be a helper, especially these early tweens where they feel they have zero, teenagers too, very little control over their own life and where they can go, how they have to get there. Community service shows that they have value and they can help somebody else. Mentorship opportunities. So is there an older person, younger? But also with that, they can then become the mentor. Now they're an expert and they can share their knowledge with someone. And then peer-to-peer, excuse me. Peer-to-peer connection. So finding ones their same age, and it may be at the same school. It might be involved if you belong to a religious organization. It may be part of that youth group. Through that, you may meet kids from within that greater youth organization across the state or across the region. And these, as you're just continuing to safely expand your child's world, getting them exposed to other people is huge. Because when they're just always in their same little pod all the time, you forget there's like 8 billion people on the planet and they all live in different ways, and learning that. And they may learn their next zest or what they want to be when they grow up. So thinking about how they can, interact and connect with others. Next slide, please. So empowering youth, there is prevention and there is action. So prevention, like to use think. So is it thoughtful? So before the words are even coming out of their mouths, before the actions are leaving their hands, have them stop and think. Is it thoughtful? Is it helpful? Are you adding to the conversation in any way that's useful? Is it interesting or inclusive? Is it necessary, right? When one sibling tells another, oh my gosh, that's so bleh. Well, is that needed? I mean, the kid probably already knew they fell down, they were in the water, like they already knew. Is it kind? So how do we carry the fire? How do we lead with kindness? So think. And this is something that, again, you can model. This is the prevention piece that we want, hopefully our kids are going through so they don't become somebody who is bullying. And this is how you can, call it a walking tour guide as a parent. I think I did it more when my kids were younger. Don't do it quite as much as they get older. You can ask them. I still do it somewhat, but talk it through. When you're saying something, you can even catch yourself. Maybe you said something that wasn't nice or wasn't helpful. If you could say it and then you go, you know what? Now that I think about it, that wasn't really helpful, was it, to the conversation? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't think before I spoke. May I try again, please? So you're acknowledging what you did. You're asking for permission to start over. That empowers your child to say like, oh, I got agency in this conversation. It's not just stuff raining down on me. So think thoughtful, helpful, interesting, inclusive, necessary, and kind. Be a buddy. So nice. Do you notice? You are a bystander. So you notice that there is bullying going on. I is intervene. That means, okay, I'm going from bystander to upstander. I'm willing to walk over and interact with this activity. Your child should not go over and interact with the activity where they feel they may be harmed. People have pulled knives. No, please do not. Please go intervene elsewhere. Go get an adult, call 911. And you have to notice, that means we need to be aware of our surroundings. We intervene, we go over, see, you comment. And often this is a redirecting comment, like, hey, did you guys see the movie last night? Or, how about that teacher? Man, I really liked what we learned in math class. Isosceles triangles rock. Something that probably has a little bit of humor, and then escape. Take the person that you are perceiving as receiving the bullying, and then say, hey, you know what? Mrs. Jones has a question for us, and she asked me to come over and get you. Let's go. And then they go, and that way you're escaping the situation. So notice what's going on, intervene, comment, and escape. And, be a buddy, not a bully. And that will be the end of my singing. But if we do that, then we know that you're helping your child prevent with thinking, and then in action is nice. These are things I would encourage you to practice with your child in the car. Practice as you're going to the store. Create scenarios at the park and you see people acting. What are they doing? Can you create dialogue and then make up funny dialogue, make up silly dialogue, make up mean dialogue, and then work through how do each of those work and feel to them, and how do they feel to you? Next slide, please. So educate and empower. If you don't know what it looks like, if your kid doesn't know what it looks like, they may not even realize they're a recipient of it, or they may not perceive that their behavior is bullying. So educate, educate, educate. Your kid didn't come out of the womb knowing how to tie their shoes. They didn't know how to eat healthy. They didn't know how to apply makeup, or they didn't know how to shoot the 3-point fade. They have to practice. They have to be educated. They have to be taught. This is the same thing with bullying. Open communication. I cannot emphasize this enough. This can be done face to face. This can be done through text messaging, smoke signals, writing in a notebook, keeping an open diary, but obviously keep the communication flowing. If you and with your child can keep open communication, you get a gold star. You're a win. This is the way it goes. Encourage engagement in enjoyable activities. What does your kid like to do? If you don't know what your child likes to do, ask them. Have play, and have the play, they direct the play, not you say what's going to happen, but they model how you want to treat others. If you're telling them you can't bully and you can't do this, but all they see is you yelling at your partner or cutting people off when you're driving or making a snarky comment as you get it from school, man, I can't believe that, blah, blah, blah. That's what they're going to do. So encourage you to model how you treat others, model the behavior. In the moment, if you see it, question it. Hey, that felt like. I use a lot of humor. So using humor to redirect, that actually short circuits the brain during bullying, and they don't know what's going on. And because you're like, what? It's like asking someone to do a math problem. They have to stop and use a different part of their brain. Go as a group. If you see some bullying going on, you can tell your kid, if they see bullying, they don't have to intervene alone. Take a buddy with them, and then they go and to intervene together. So diffuse it, and then maybe they didn't feel comfortable being an upstander. They were a bystander, which is great. They acknowledge that it happened. Later, they may want to privately check in with the person who was a recipient and said, hey, I saw this earlier. Can you tell me more about that? What happened? How do you feel? How can I help support you? How can I help you? What do you need me to do as a fellow classmate, as a peer, as a friend? So again, privately checking in. And this is something we can do as adults too. We have work environments, we have friend environments. Check back in with people. Next slide, please. So how do we build self-confidence? Identify your child's strengths. It's not to say we don't acknowledge that we all have places to stretch and grow and challenges that we have, but what are their strengths and how do we build on that? Celebrate the successes. These need to be true. We're not going to wait till high school graduation to say, oh my gosh, you're amazing, because there's a lot of grades before then. How can we every day find something awesome that your kid did? Be kind to yourself as well. Embrace your imperfections. I often have students draw in my office. I have them draw pictures, and we have the great media of crayons. You might imagine that crayons break. Sometimes I have some of my patients have sensory processing challenges, and so they want a lot more sensory input. So they'll hold the crayon really, really hard, and they press really, really hard, and then it breaks. And then they kind of look, and they're waiting for me to get upset, or they're not sure how it's going to react. Because in the past, someone may have been mad at them for breaking a crayon. And so I've tried to redirect it. I'm like, great, now you got 2 yellow crayons instead of 1. So we have more things to grow with. So finding ways to reframe, I think, is kind, to be kind to yourself, to say, you know what? Yep, I got stretch marks. And you know what? I grew some awesome humans with that who are out there doing great things in the world. So finding ways, today is another day. Finding a mantra, today is another day. Today is an opportunity for greatness. And I think I'm saying that a lot in my own home because my kids have started repeating it. But today is a day for greatness. It's an opportunity. What are we going to do to focus on the positive? Not to say there aren't negative things in life, but if we start training our brain to look at that, that's what our brain sees more. Gratitude, maybe keep a gratitude jar in your house where you write down 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things every day that you were thankful for. Put them in the jar. Now you have a visual reminder of all the things. Pull them out once a week, twice a week, to read them, to remind yourself again, these are the things. When you start looking and writing this down, your brain starts focusing towards gratitude more. And then, yes, negative things are still going to happen, and you have more resilience to deal with them. Next slide, please. Building authentic relationships. So this is you and your child. This is your child and other trusted adults in their life. How to be true. You want to offer support. You want to show genuine interest when they speak. Please put down your phone when they're talking to you. You may only get 30 seconds before they decide that you're not interested. Remember, our kids don't have a very long attention span. If they've tried to show you something and you're like, later, 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 at some point they stop trying to show you. So I encourage you to keep circling back, to be available for conversations when they're ready. Maybe it's in the car, right? Everyone's a captive audience all together, and you're not looking at each other eyeball to eyeball. You're both looking in the same direction. That can sometimes be an easier time to have these big conversations. Maybe you and your kid have things that you like a lot together, and maybe you have things that are very separate. That's okay. And maybe they like broccoli and you don't like broccoli, but you like peas and they don't like peas. But you can each try each other's thing to then expand your own horizons, making sure that your home is a safe and inclusive space. You want to make sure that they feel they can share whatever is on their mind. I would encourage you not to use the phrase, don't worry, because your child will worry, just like you worry, just like you worried when you were growing up. We all worry. It isn't human emotion. And we need to learn how to listen to our body, how it feels when we're worrying. Because if we're constantly told, don't worry, but our body still feels it, now we start, oh, do I trust my own body? So, yes, I see that you are worried. Tell me more about why. I see that you're worried. You know, when I'm in this situation, this is what helps me. And then, of course, addressing bullying head on. I would encourage you not to say, well, everyone gets bullied. What's the big deal? Or just ignore them and get over it. Well, your kid's coming to you because they are struggling. And remember, less than 50% of kids actually told an adult. So if your kid's coming and telling you, it's rising to a big level that says, you know what, they need someone to talk to. They need to know that they're still okay, that home is safe. And if they're being cyberbullied, they may not have any break from that bullying because it's happening at school. And then when they come home, it's still happening because it's happening in the online world. If it's just face to face at school, assuming the bully doesn't live in your neighborhood, the person who's bullying, then you get a break in the evening, you get a break on the weekends. Cyber, not so much. And respect your child's feelings. They may be younger, but it doesn't mean they don't have valid feelings. And they're going to have very big feelings. And as kids' puberty kicks in, the hormones are doing this, the hormones are doing that, the feelings are doing this, the feelings are doing that. And they don't know either. And they feel out of control. So helping them understand that you expect this to go through, that you're 100% and you'll talk about anything. A lot of times kids will come and they'll say, you think they have some really big thing that they're doing, and really they're like, can I wear pink shoes today? Right? Which to you doesn't feel as big, but for them it was huge. So again, respecting their feelings, creating a safe, open environment. Next slide, please. I know I'm talking a lot today, and hopefully this is something that sticks with you. Listen to understand rather than listen to respond. As a parent and caregiver, we naturally want to fix everything for our kids. We want them to have as little friction growing up as possible. We want them to have everything we didn't have. And we want to, if they have a challenge, we're going to go into problem solving mode. Ask your kid, do they want problem solving? Or do they want, helps coming to the solution to the challenge? Or would they rather have a listening ear and then they work it through? So listen to understand rather than listen to respond. Often what happens if we're listening to respond, we cut people off before they've gotten to the meat of what they're trying to communicate with us. If we listen to understand, we're going to wait until they're done talking. We're going to pause. And then I would recommend repeating back what you heard. You can do it verbatim, word for word, or you can say, what I heard you say, what I think you said was, and then is that correct? Next slide, please. So conversation starters, how do we build connection? Open-ended questions, show interest, share about yourself. Hey, you know what? Here's something that happened when I was growing up. Here's something that happened to me today. Being playful, humor is huge. Humor, I think is amazing. Discuss shared activities and be supportive. I think validating feelings. So again, don't dismiss. Don't worry is dismissive. I hear that you're worried. Let's work together to maybe address that. Use the environment that you're in. Next slide, please. So here's some examples of how we can support a child through a challenge. So how would you like things to be different? Again, agency, getting them to get the juices flowing to think about how we can redirect. What can I do to show up to support you? So again, they get to be the leader. When would you most likely to be? What do you think you'll lose if you give up blank, right? If a kid's trying to decide between different sports or different after-school activities. Help me understand. So again, you're asking them, they are the expert in their own feelings. How can they explain it to understand to you? Next slide, please. Location, if you're driving alone with your child, downtime at home, whatever that looks like for you, after school, peer-related experiences, while you're cooking is a great time to have conversations. You could go about a recipe and then maybe it reminds you of a recipe you had when you were younger. And it's a great way of sharing stories. Next slide, please. When do we stop having conversations? So maybe we don't have very much time together. That's not going to be when we're going to bring up the big idea. If we're in the middle of a conflict about technology, maybe that's not the time to say, fine, you get nothing forever. that's going to be hard to enforce. If their friends are present, kids, especially tweens, they do not want to be embarrassed. So saying, hey, you know what, this behavior is not okay. We're going to discuss it later. So you've let them know how you feel, and then you're going to walk away. It doesn't mean they're getting off the hook. It just means you're going to discuss it in a calmer space where you're able to be present and they're able to be present. If your child's literally doing this and sticking the fingers in their ears, that's not okay. They don't hear you. If you're screaming and yelling, they don't hear you, you don't hear them. So call a timeout. Say, you know what? I'm feeling really frustrated right now. I don't feel like I'm being heard. I'm going to take a timeout. I'm going to set the alarm in the kitchen. We'll set a 5-minute, 10-minute timer, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss then and walk away. And that's okay. Next slide, please. So meal times are awesome. This is a great time where we don't have homework in front of us. I really encourage you to put all electronic devices away. That includes your own. So no phone, no cell, no nothing, putting it away, and then coming together, breaking bread. If it's hard and this is the first time you're doing this as a family, write out some conversation starters or buy a chat pack and put it in the middle of the table. And that way you don't have to come up even with an idea of how to start a conversation. It can just be right there. You can also think about like rose, bud, and thorn to think about your day. What was something that was awesome? That's the rose. What was a thorn? Maybe what was a challenging or sticky situation? And what was a bud? What are you looking forward to happening? You may need to do this several times again to model the behavior that you like. Kids who are eating with their parents and caregivers are much more likely to try new foods. They're much more likely to eat what you have. Again, I do understand that some children do have selective eating, who do have medical reasons for not being able to eat the same foods as everyone else in their family. And 100%, please do not feed your child something they are allergic to or they medically cannot eat. But as a general rule of thumb, trying to come together and finding ways that we can share. Maybe inviting another family to have a meal with you. This is a great way of having, I think of it as a family play date. Next slide, please. How do we create a healthy relationship with social media? That we think about the 5 C's: child, content, calm, crowding out, and communication. So the first C is child. Who is your child? Who are they? How are they? What are their motivations for using the social media? What do they think they're getting out of it? So who are they? How are they relating to it? What's the content? What are they actually putting in front of their eyeballs? Right? Is it how to build a rocket ship? Is it how to rake up your neighbor's flowers? Like, what's going on? What is the content that they're seeing? Is it all about disordered eating? Is it all about how to become an awesome, flute player? What's going on? What is their content? And I think talking through with them that what is their independence, they're going to want to see more of their own stuff. They're not going to want you to watch. And can we find ways to understand that some videos are not true? People alter things all the time. C is calm. You may see, especially your younger kids, but older ones as well, if they spend a lot of time online, if they spend a lot of time in front of an electronic device, they get agitated when you ask them to turn it off. So what are we doing to help calm yourself that is not device driven? And again, modeling this behavior. Do we go for a walk together? Do we pet our dog? Do we write a book? Do we draw? Do we journal? What are other conscious breathing, color visualizations? What are other good, healthy coping strategies? Crowding out, it's an opportunity cost. If you're spending your time on electronics and with social media, then you are not spending your time doing something else. So what is your child, or what are you losing if you're spending a lot of time there? And then communication. What is it like for you? How do you feel after you've spent an hour scrolling through Instagram? I don't know. How do you feel as a parent? Often the answer is not so great because you feel kind of sluggy. And then what is all this time that I lost and I could have done something else? Acknowledge to your child, you know what? Sometimes I mess up. and I didn't achieve the goal that I wanted, and that's okay. I can try again. Watching together. So family movie night, let's have popcorn and cheese and apples and carrots, and let's do it together. And then let's talk about what we just watched. What is the meaning behind it? So again, child, content, calm, crowding out, and communication. Next slide, please. Family media agreement, you can find this on commonsense.org. So Common Sense Media, this is a great, and again, this is family media agreement. It's not specific to social media. It's not specific to a phone or an iPad or whatever. It is all media. And so it's what are the, I'm going to take care, I'm going to stay safe, I'm going to think first, I'm going to stay balanced. We're going to communicate openly. And then in exchange, what is my family doing? So we can recognize media is a big part of our life. You know, those of us who grew up when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, we didn't have it. So how are we, our childhood wasn't exactly the same. So how can we understand that our children, their childhood is different? Media is 100% part of their lives, but how can we create that in a healthy space? And I think that was put in the chat if you want to look at the website. Next slide, please. So safe, explain what cyberbullying is, making sure, again, that educate piece, making sure people understand what it is, promoting the behavior online and off. We want people to interact and have good conversations, face-to-face, human-to-human, and we want those same human-to-human interactions online as well. Encourage critical thinking. You know, maybe there's an article, share it with your kid, assuming it's age appropriate, share it and then have a discussion with them. What are you consuming and why do you consume it? Is this something that you think is helpful to you? Why is it helpful to you? Remember when your kid was really young and they went, why? Same thing. Question. Why are you consuming this news versus another news? Maybe you are scrolling because you know what? Your brain's toast. You're done. And you can say that like, look, I just want to watch some funny cat memes for 10 minutes, but I only wanted to watch for 10 minutes. So I set an alarm to make sure that at the end of 10 minutes, I transitioned and did something else. I was able to decompress and then I moved on. And I didn't accidentally wind up watching a whole hour of cat meme videos. And then encourage reporting. If your kid has somebody who's bullying them online, bullying in person, right? They're recipient of bullying behaviors. If you see people doing, report. It is okay. We want each other to be supportive and supported. We want to help grow to be the best humans that we can. And we learn by going ahead, seeking those helpful behaviors. Next slide, please. What do we do if we need more help? At school, we can see there's the counselor. If your child has an IEP, they're going to have a case manager. We can talk to our principal. ERMHS stands for Educationally Related Mental Health Services. So that's if your child is part of their 504 or IEP, has a therapist, that's going to be part of the ERBS assessments. The San Diego County Office of Education is there as guidance, but they're not going to be the specific place if we have a specific challenge in the school setting that really needs to be addressed at the local level. All schools' websites have their policies on bullying. So that can be a place to go. And I know, again, we have that website that can be shared as well. Connecting with the school district, maybe special education department if your child does have an IEP or 504. And then what do we do outside of school, right? Because we know bullying happens at school. We also know bullying can happen in the neighborhood, can happen at your place of worship, can happen at the grocery store. So talk to your pediatrician. That is a trusted adult that is there to help guide you and your child on their path to wellness and adulthood. Having a counselor, therapist, life coach, talking to friends. Next slide, please. So mental health resources, there's a ton. Obviously, if we're in a crisis situation, please contact 911. That is a way to get the emergency room to come to you. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, that is 988. You dial 988. The Spanish line is also on there, and the TTY line is on there. You will be connected with a trained counselor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's free, it's confidential. If you prefer to text, 741-741. text the word home. If you don't remember home, you can text any word and it'll activate it. So 741-741, and these will all be shared. American Academy of Pediatrics does have healthychildren.org. Next slide, please. So San Diego specific, although if you look at the very last line, that is Riverside County Department of Public Health. But most of these are county. Children's Primary Care Medical Group, cpcmg.net. Our Health Hub has a wealth of behavioral mental health resources and other things on various stages of development. It is free. It's written by pediatricians, so please go check it out, www.cpcmg.net. Health Hub, Rady Children's has information on their websites as well. Next slide, please. And you can tell we're getting towards the end of the talk because the font on the slides is getting smaller and smaller as we go towards all the prevention and parenting resources. So again, this will all go out to you, but stopbullying.gov is put out, San Diego County Office of Education, Parent Guidance, and of course, Mental Health America. Next slide, please. Whoa, Dr. Bowers, you're only 6 minutes over. That's amazing. So good. See, I'm just complimenting myself.
Thank you so
So
much.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for showing up and being present. Just by coming today shows that you have an interest and that you are there to help your child. And remember, you're hopefully the trusted adult for your own child, but you may also be the trusted adult for someone else's child. So being there for them is really important.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bowers, for sharing such a wealth of valuable information, along with a variety of helpful tips and tools this evening. I really appreciated the emphasis on building authentic relationships and connection with our youth. I also like the idea of taking time outs when conversations become challenging. I have 4 children myself. I'm going to utilize those many times in my life. Now to everyone, we are going to transition into the Q&A for the next few minutes. And during that, a survey link will appear on your screen, and we encourage you to take the moment to complete this brief survey, and it will be invaluable in helping us seek out additional topics to cover in the future, as well as gauge feedback for each of the topics that we do share when we share these webinars. And with that being said, we're going to move on to the questions. So Dr. Bowers, number 1, is there a way to address exclusion within groups, particularly when there is a deliberate lack of support or recognition for a student or sports team member?
So yes, so first you have to know that it's happening. So that's either your child has come to you to say that they've been excluded, or you are going to the practices and you watch it yourself, because again, it may be your child, it may be someone else's child. And you see that that's happening. If you as an adult have witnessed it, I would encourage you to go to the other adults in the environment. So that may be going to the coach or the assistant coach. It may be going to the parent volunteer liaison. Obviously, if the parent volunteer liaison is the one who's doing the excluding, maybe go to the coach if this is in a sporting area. If you find that your child is being excluded in the classroom, remember, if your child has a 504 or an IEP, those are legal documents and teachers do need to follow them. So unfortunately, I've seen some teachers not. Of course, not anyone here, but just saying it happens sometimes despite our best efforts. So I would do that. I would also have a conversation with your child. If your child is the one who's being excluded, how do they perceive the interaction and environment? Involve them. You know, if they're 2, you're not going to have that higher level conversation with them. But, you know, when they get to the tweens, they can see those social interactions. Have them see, you know, how does it make them feel? Why do they think it's happening, right? So trying to get them to go to that, we often see the B for behavior and we see the C for consequence, but we forget the A. The A comes before B and C. A stands for antecedent. So antecedent behavior and consequence. What happened before their behavior? And again, when you get to that why, that often tells you what's going on and why that exclusion is happening. Hopefully I answered the question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, question 2. What happens when a child doesn't want a parent to intervene? What can be done in that scenario?
So in that scenario, I would really sit down and have an honest conversation with your child as to the why. So, map it out. You may do some role playing is actually often a really helpful thing because maybe they don't like being the recipient of bullying, but they have no tools on how to stop that or interact with the person who is doing the intensive bullying. Um, so again, having that conversation, getting to the why. The other thing is sometimes it's helpful to have not a parent talk to you about this. So is there another trusted adult in their life? Maybe it's a grandparent or an aunt and uncle who can do it because often that can be less emotionally charged. Kids in general want their parents to think they're awesome, right? They don't want to let us down. And they're often afraid, well, if I go and I do that, then I'm viewed as weak for 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 saying that it's a problem. No, you're human. Nobody wants to go to school feeling yucky. Yucky is a medical term, by the way. It's one of the things you can have. I have yuckiness. So thinking about that, sit down with your child, have the why. You may not be able to have this conversation face to face. It may be in the car. It may be you write out things in a notebook and then they read it and they write out things on the notebook. So our short-term goal may be to stop this one incident, but the long-term goal is to build a strong, resilient human. So take the time, take the long view on this, assuming your child is not being really harmed. If they're really harmed and they won't do something about it, like someone's punching them in the eyeball and now they have an orbital fracture, that's not okay. You're going to have to intervene as a parent. You're going to need to go to the school and have an adult to adult conversation.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And here's the third and last question. What can you do when your child who has autism isn't aware that he is being bullied
Mm.
or teased?
I'm sorry, I burped while you, sorry. Can you say the question again? I'm so sorry.
Love to. What can you do when your child who has autism isn't aware that he is being bullied or teased?
Mm, this one is super, super hard. And unfortunately, I do see this in clinic. Um, I would I would try to work on the why of why does your child want to hang out with these people? Is there something about this group of people that they really want to hang out with? Um, does your child have a friend that doesn't tease them, that does not bully them? Because it maybe your child does not. And they are, the old thing, like negative attention is better than no attention. And so this way, well, at least they're paying attention to me. And your child has developed a, for lack of a better word, class clown personality, that's what's going on. You can talk to the school and talk to the teacher. If your child has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, then in theory, they should have an IEP, which means that part of that IEP can be education for the classroom and education for the teachers and education for their peers on what does autism look like? And I think by now we know autism doesn't look like one thing. And how do we interact with other people? Because they may not, kids who do not, or their brains aren't operating on autism may not understand that your child doesn't read social cues like at all. They don't get it. And so they're interpreting your child's reactions in their brain. So having these education moments, I think, is huge. Cultivating your child's ability to have interactions that maybe won't lead to them being bullied. So improv classes are a really excellent way to learn how to talk on the fly and to have conversations. And I've seen many of my patients have gone through improv classes, and then that's really improved their ability to have conversations with other kids on the playground or lunch table. So improv classes could be a great thing. And then It may involve RDI, so relationship development intervention, so getting an appropriate therapist to work through so they understand what social interactions look like. And one more, because I have a feeling I'm way over time. Oh, shoot. Okay, Dr. Bowers is giving herself space and grace because I just forgot what I was going to say. They are you helping them cultivate friendship. So you may need to create a play date. You're going to have a family play date. Figure out who else is in their class, finding someone else that you think might have a common interest and bringing them over. You're going to have to maybe structure it. They all like Legos. You're going to have the Legos already set up. You're going to front load your child. This is what's going to happen when they come over. How do we interact? These are some things you can say. So having those family structured play dates is really can be very, very helpful and something that you do even beyond the preschool years.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bowers, for everything today.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it, as we all do. And thank you to everyone else who has joined us this evening. Please note that the recording of this webinar and the slides will be available in the coming weeks. And we also want to invite you to join us on February 19th at 5:30 p.m. for our next webinar in this three-part series, where Dr. Jason Schweitzer will be presenting Hope and Healing, Understanding Self-Harm and Supporting Youth. Once again, thank you for your participation this evening, and we hope you have a great night.
Thank you.